As you've seen, the tensions between South Korea and the United States over customs negotiations have reached a peak. For more details, let's have a conversation with Koo Kyung-ho from the Economic Department. Reporter Koo, negotiations have been continued for over a month, and U.S. pressure is particularly intense.
As you've mentioned, we are in a situation where it is difficult to accept the U.S. demands, and some are saying it feels more like coercion than pressure. It's not favorable right now. This year's exports to the U.S. have dramatically decreased, with last month showing a concerning negative decline of 12%. So as time goes on, things are becoming more disadvantageous for us. That's the current situation.
As you previously mentioned, the coercion we face from the U.S. can certainly also be attributed to Japan's previous agreements with them. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. As you saw earlier, the U.S. reached an agreement with Japan on the investment return ratio 50-50 before the principal is recovered and 90-10 afterwards. The U.S. is now saying, look, Japan agreed to this. Why won't South Korea accept the same terms? They're unilaterally setting the standards and pushing us.
Japan's readiness to comply with every single demand from the US has created a troubling precedent, which now places South Korea in a significantly tougher and more demanding position.
As reporter Cook mentioned earlier, the situation after the principal is recovered is also quite severe. The US taking 90% is seen as humiliating, even within Japan, sparking criticism of it being a disgraceful deal, right?
Yes, that's right. We're talking about the US investing 350 billion, which equals around 486 trillion won in our currency. To help you understand better, 486 trillion won corresponds to about 1/5 of the gross domestic product of South Korea. Nonetheless, with such a significant financial commitment from our side, it seems that the US intends to seize almost all of the profits. As you mentioned, Japan made the same agreement, and in Japan, it was heavily criticized as humiliating. The public said, are we truly just an ATM for the US? The backlash was notably strong. But now they're directly asking South Korea to accept those very same terms that Japan had to, aren't they? This is why our President Lee Jae-myung and the government are questioning why we should sign something so disadvantageous.
When even President Lee is openly calling it disadvantageous, it shows just how serious the situation is. And meanwhile, concerns about a foreign exchange crisis are also surfacing, right?
Let me pose an important question to you. Are you aware of how much foreign exchange reserves South Korea currently has?
It's over 400 billion.
That's correct. Since our investment in the US is 350 billion, that accounts for about 84% of our total foreign exchange reserves. If we misstep and can't recover our investment, it could lead to a crisis on the scale of a foreign exchange crisis. So we're proposing safer methods like guarantees and loans, but the US insists on direct cash investments, putting us in a very difficult position.
Fundamentally, we need to consider together the potential impact on the foreign exchange market. We're asking the US to help in areas where they can. But honestly, this issue has caused negotiations to reach quite a stalemate.
From our perspective, there are countless difficulties that we need to resolve. Amidst all this, I heard that the US Deputy Secretary of State, although not directly in charge of customs issues, has visited South Korea.
Yes, Christopher Landau, the Deputy Secretary from the US State Department, arrived in South Korea today and held meetings with Foreign Minister Cho Hyun and First Vice Minister Park Yoon-ju. Initially, the visit was reported to focus on diplomatic issues such as U.S. Forces Korea. But given the rising issue of detained workers between the two countries, it is expected that visa issues will also be discussed.
The visa issue seems just as pressing as the customs matter. We'll leave it here for now. That was Young-ho Kook from the Economic Department.